Okay, so let's start, everyone. Now, welcome to the Pivot webinar series that is organized in conjunction with the Rapid Response and Recovery Program in Malaysia. So first of all, I would like to say Salam Awal Muharram to those celebrating, and thank you so much for joining us today on a public holiday. So the Rapid Response and Recovery Program is an initiative of Youth Business International, YBI, being rolled out across 32 countries around the world with the support of Google.org, the philanthropic arm of Google, and is implemented in Malaysia by Startup Malaysia. Now, if you're new here, the Pivot webinar series is a series of 1 hour free webinar where we discuss relevant topics to help small business owners like yourself in navigating your daily business challenges due to the pandemic. And aside from the series of free webinars, we also have workshops, 3 to 4 hour programs, and also a 6-week intense coaching and mentoring that you can also benefit from. And the next cohort begins on the 6th of September. Now, to give you a better picture of the program, we have prepared a short clip for you. Okay, now before I forget, if you haven't followed us on our social media yet, please do so to access more free resources, get the latest updates, tricks, and tips that may be beneficial to your business. And a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep your microphone muted at all times to avoid any sorts of interruptions. And should you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box and our trainer will address them accordingly. And we will also be taking photos and screenshots from time to time, and they will be shared on all of our social media platforms. Which means if you are not comfortable for your picture to be featured on social media, please keep your cameras off. And speaking of which, before we begin, let's take a quick group photo. Are you ready? Please turn on your camera if you are comfortable with the picture being featured. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead. Ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. Okay, now let's start our webinar today. So today we will be learning about Brand Designs 101. Our trainer for today is Jasmine Hor, the founder and creative director of Jasmine Studio. So she formed Jasmine Studio Sdn Bhd with her partner to tap into the internet-based marketing. And her passion for design led her into the lucrative online design market, and hence logodesignCreation.com was born. And she's also in charge of overseeing the creative aspect of the company and managing the entire designing team for fast delivery with high quality designs to customers worldwide. So without further ado, Jasmine, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Irina. Okay, let's get started. Let me share my screen. All right, so today we will talk about brand. So branding can cover a lot of things in terms of design as well, and also a little bit about marketing. Okay, so let's get started. So this is just a little bit history about branding. Okay, so back in the 1950s, people did mass productions in the factories. Okay, so they needed a different vibe to actually compete with their competitors. Okay, so that was where branding was born. Okay, to differentiate their product in the market. All right, so in 1970s onwards, branding became an art form, okay, for people to stay relevant in the marketplace. Okay, so there's a lot of example, you're selling books, there's a lot of people selling books as well. So who would come to your shop instead? Okay, so that branding part in terms of design is relevant in the economy. Okay, so as of now, in the present day, advertising and branding is considered compulsory. Okay, it's a very important requirement to introduce your product or service in the market. Okay, because there's so many people doing the same thing. So you need to try to differentiate your product, okay, to give a little bit of flair in terms of design and emotion in your product or service so that it markets well in the marketplace. All right, so what is branding? So branding is not the image you have in your mind about your products. Okay, so as a founder, you may think, oh, you want people to do this, you want people to see it that way, right? So it's actually not. Branding is what people perceive your product or service as. Okay, so maybe sometimes when you brand it wrongly, okay, maybe you want to brand it for a more higher end market, but unfortunately the design didn't go well, so it targets the one that are lower income. All right, people at the lower income. So that is what branding is about. So branding, you have to be very careful in terms of your design, how you want to use the colors, the fonts, the layout, and stuff like that. Okay, so please remember, branding is what people perceive your product or service as. So this is the power of branding. So as you can see, it's a very simple graphic here. Okay, if you do powerful branding, very good branding in terms of marketing, you know, the design and everything, then you can sell it at a higher price. Okay, basically you can earn more out of branding. Now, if you just do something in just an empty box and then you put the product inside, that is not branding. Okay, so that there has no branding, there's people don't know where it comes from, you know, is it from China, is it from this? So in terms of branding, you can actually do a lot. Okay, like in Shopee, you can actually order like bulks of masks and then repackage it, put a label in it, maybe do some embroidery on it, and then packaging design. Okay, and then maybe send it over to our local celebrities or influencers, and then they can post it on Instagram, and then it becomes a lifestyle product. Okay, the mask becomes a lifestyle product, even though it's just a typical normal mask. Okay, so that is branding. Okay, so this is what branding is, just to give you a little bit more details about it. So the first thing is what you want it to be. It's very important. As a founder, you are the creator of the product or service. You need to know where your brand, what you want people to perceive your brand as. So in terms of that, you need to go and do some research, okay, competitor research, check the market, okay, check what's happening, what are they doing, you know, like McDonald's, how they package their burgers, you know, Carl's Jr., how they package their burgers. So if you're opening like a fast food chain, you got to know all of these, then try to improve it or make it better. Okay, now the center one that's highlighted in red is how you want to tell them. So most of the time, the center section is design. Okay, it's where the designers come in to make it look wow, okay, to hit your target market. Okay, so if you're targeting women, then the designers will make it, you know, in terms of the style and the flair to target women. Okay, now the last one is after you put your product in the market, okay, what they know it to be. So what the customers will see it as, how they perceive the brand. Is it a high-end market brand or a low one? So when you look at H&M, what do you think? Okay, so when you look at H&M, you think, wow, affordable clothing. RM10, you can get a dress. Okay, but when you look at Zara, it's different. Minimum requirement 100 ringgit to get a dress. Okay, so that is the brand, how they market the brand. Okay, how they perceive the brand. So these are the 3 key things to remember. Okay, so of course, communications comes with a lot of things like brand identity, your logo, the colors that you use, the packaging, the content, the copywriting, all of those things is under the design category here. Okay. All right, so design is actually brand. Okay, if you want to be noticed, you're going to need smart design. Okay, use the right colors, the fonts, you know, how you want to perceive the, you know, the emotion you want to give once people see that packaging, hold your product, how they perceive, how they feel about your brand. Okay, so design plays a very strong role. Okay, so for branding, we will talk about logo first, and then we will consistently go through design principles that you all can utilize for your design materials. Okay, right, the first thing is brand identity. So what makes a great logo? Okay, always start with black and white. So your logo should always work in black and white first, and then you can start to add on colors to improve it. Okay, so always remember, logo should be created from black first. Okay, and then after that, you top up with colors. Okay. And the next one is make sure it's scalable. So this is very important as of today, okay, because everything is digital. So when things go digital, we need the logo in a mobile app. So mobile app logos are very small. And then we need it on the browser tab. You know, the browser tab, that small little icon, that one also is the logo. Okay, and also on business cards. So all of these are pretty small. So make sure when it's scaled to a small size, your logo is still prominently, you know, people can still recognize your brand. Okay, so that is very important. Now, enlarging it is a different thing. Enlarging it is obviously people can see, all right? If you enlarge it large on the billboard, obviously people can see, but that is not the trend right now. The trend right now is very digital. Everything is digital, everything is small. Okay, so you make sure it's scalable to a smaller size. All right, next is make it timeless. So timeless means the trend doesn't go off key. Okay, so try at least it can last for about 10 to 20 years. Okay, so how to make it timeless is try to keep it simple. Okay, keep it simple, keep it clean, then it can last for a longer time. Okay, so avoid too many design trends. Okay, like 3D, emboss, all those things, try to avoid. Okay. Okay, next is use the right typography. So don't use fonts randomly. Okay, use the right fonts, especially script not permitted. Script fonts are not permitted on logo designs because it's very hard to read. You are the founder, you may think it's easy because it's feminine, you want a feminine touch, okay, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, your customers may not be able to read on or recognize the brand name easily. All right. As founders, we always know our name. We are very proud of our name. We know everything about company, but you have to understand your target market, your potential customers, they don't know anything about your brand. So when you make something hard for them to read or identify, then they will just lose their interest. Okay, so please be aware in terms of your fonts. Okay, keep it simple, clean, bold, and strong. Okay, like this. Okay, not like this, right? Next up is use suitable colors. So try to learn about color psychology. Don't use too many colors in your logo. So one color, two colors, or sometimes full color, it depends. Okay, so one or two or more. Okay, so if your logo is only one colored logo, it's actually very good because it's cost effective. So when you're printing on t-shirts, you're printing on a cap, embroidery and stuff like that, you only use one color, even for print also. So the printer will not charge you higher in terms of your logo because it's full color and everything else, has to use that color. So once your logo color is more than two colors, it's considered full color already. Okay, so it's either one color, two colors, or full color. All right. In terms of logo color psychology, it depends. Okay. You need to check your competitors, see what kind of emotion it creates. Okay, what kind of emotion it creates, whether your target market can understand. Like fast food outlets, they usually use red and yellow. Okay, so if you want to be in a fast food chain outlet, you have to slightly within those range of colors. Okay, so people can easily perceive your brand as a fast food chain. Okay, so colors are also very important. Those that in the market, you need to go and do your research, competitor research. Okay, to see who are the ones in the market, why are they using that color? Is it suitable for you, or you want to change it totally drastically, change the whole brand into a different color? It's also okay, but the way you market it is also very important. Okay. All right, next up is keep your ideas original. So don't copy other logos if possible. You can get the ideas from there, but don't copy it directly. Okay, get it as a base to improve on your version, but don't copy direct because there are copyright issues, right? Next up is the last thing is aim for optical balance. So optical balance meaning you need to check the grids and stuff, but optical balance means you personally check if the shape when you're viewing it, whether it's balanced or not. It's not about whether your software is making the circle perfect. That's not what it means. Okay, so optical means you as a designer manually adjust the shape so that when people look at it, they think, okay, it looks like a perfect circle, even though it is not. Okay, so designers do a lot of changes to designs all the time. Okay, we don't, even fonts also, sometimes the gaps of the fonts we manually adjust word by word, character by character. All right, so because we need the optical balance there. Okay, calculating it in terms of 1.0, 1.0 size on your software, it doesn't work. Okay, when you look at it, there's still a bigger space. Okay, certain letters are thinner, like I is thinner. Okay, so you cannot have a bigger space like C. Okay, so it's different. So look at this Google logo, it's also not a perfect circle. Okay, they use optical balance. All right. Okay, so next up we will talk about design principles. So all of these design principles, right, you all can apply on your design work. It can be on a business card, it can be on a social media poster, It can also be on Canva. Even Canva have templates. You have to be very careful when you use the Canva templates. So Canva templates are all created very nice, very creative. All their alignments and design principles are there. It's just that after when you take that poster and then you edit it, you add more text to it and more images, then the layout goes way out of the design principle. Okay, so try to apply those and be careful even when you're using Canva. Okay. All right, so the first thing we will cover is about alignment. Okay, so alignment helps us to create a sense of unity, a structure. Okay, it's connecting the elements. So if you are aligning everything, justified or justified. If you align it to the left, all to the left. If you align it in the center, everything has to be in the center. Okay, because it's going to be like a group. Okay, a group to show that that is the structure, that is the section you want to relay. So it's very important in terms of unity when it comes to alignment. Okay, so this is the right one and this is the wrong one. Okay, this is another sample. Okay, so whereby the title is in the center, align in the center, and then the contents on the left. So this is wrong. Okay, so this is what you're supposed to do, whereby you align everything to the left. Okay, next up is another sample as well. See how they put the logo, place the logo. This logo is all aligned to the left. This one is aligned to the left, and then the text aligned to the right. Okay. So which one is wrong? Obviously this. Okay, you don't do this, you do this. Keep everything focused on the left. All right, so here are some text alignment principles that you'll need to know. So center alignment is only used for quotes or short phrases or poems or titles. Okay, you cannot use center alignment for content, for long content. Okay, for long content, you need to use left alignment. All right, so most texts, as you can see on the publications like magazines and newspapers, they all use left align. All right, the next one is right align. Right align meaning this part here, as you can see, the one I'm circling. So it's aligning to an object, an element to refer. Okay, maybe you want to refer something on an infographic, you can put it right align. So which one is most used is this one, the center one, left align. Okay, justification is not encouraged, okay, because justification causes a lot of problems. Okay, so in terms of corporate, in your corporate world, most of the time you like to justify. Okay, everything is justify the report, justify this and that. Okay, so when it comes to design principles, right, a lot of designers, most of us, we don't, unless the client requires it, then we have no choice, then we do. So overusing of justification, right, can cause a lot of problem in terms of the content. Okay, now when things happen like this, we have to manually adjust. Okay, on our software, you need to manually maybe scale the width of the paragraph, or either we have to adjust the numbering, the measurements of each word. Okay, so justification is a problem. Okay, it's going to take a lot of time. So once you justify everything finished, and then suddenly the CEO says they want to change the content, and then everything goes haywire again. Okay, so that's why most of the time when it comes to annual reports, design agencies, they charge a very high fee, because of the justifications. Okay, they need to apply and then edit, and then word by word, character by character, you need to make sure the alignment fits well. All right, so most of the time designers do this. Websites also do this, no justification. Okay, this one left align, everything is simple and clean. And if you can see on magazines or either newspapers, it's all this as well. Just imagine newspapers, they use justification. I think there won't be time for the publication to be released the following day. Okay, the designer will probably have a difficult time adjusting the justification. Okay, all right. So next up is about paragraph. So paragraph, right, the left one is wrong. It's called an often or a widow. Okay, so never leave a single word at the end of your paragraph. Okay, so that's called a lonely orphan or a widow. All right, so how do you fix this? Either reduce your content or either adjust the width of your paragraph. Okay, so either or. Okay, next up, we'll talk about typography. So typography, right, is very important because it creates a sense of style or emotion or association with your brand. Okay, so please choose the right font or typography, they call it, okay, for your brand. Okay, so when you use fonts like this, like Times New Roman, it's more on a tradition, it's more of a heritage. Is that what you want to perceive your brand as? So maybe you're taking over your family business, you still want to maintain that kind of heritage, then yes, you can use this font. Okay, but most startups, they use this font or this font. They keep it very simple, very bold, and very strong. So it's compatible in all industries. Okay, this one is not so encouraged, okay, because it's hard to read. Okay, if you only have a few characters in your name, then it's fine, it's easy to read with script. Okay, but if your name is very long, then try to avoid script. Okay, so it doesn't mean if your product is a feminine product, you need to use script. Okay, you can see like La Senza and all those lingerie brands. Victoria's Secret also, Victoria's Secret is like a lingerie brand, very feminine, but they still don't use script fonts. Okay, so there's a purpose for that. Okay, so try to avoid, because that's going to be your brand name, going to be published on the billboard, on your signage and stuff like that. So be very careful in terms of your choice of fonts. Okay, this one is just a friendly font, like a very family business kind of font. Okay. Okay, next up, typography. So for typography, right, in a graphic, in a brand, like in Ferrari, they only use 1 or 2 fonts, that's it. Okay, throughout their brand, maybe on the posters, on the catalog and stuff like that, they always maintain the same fonts. Okay, so like for Maxis also, they will use only one particular font family and then throughout all their materials. So no company or brand usually use, oh, because for my website, I use this font, for my poster in social media, I use another font, you know, for my name cards, for my business cards, I use another font. So they don't do that. Okay, so try to choose the right font from the very start. Once you build your brand, you need to know what fonts you're going to use throughout all your materials already. Look at Nando's. Nando's also have their own creative font. You can see the quite flary, like a paintbrush stroke kind of font. Okay, so try to use only one font family if you can. So one font family meaning Helvetica, Helvetica bold, Helvetica black, Helvetica italic, Helvetica light, Helvetica medium, Helvetica new. So all of this is under one font family, is under Helvetica only. So it's already sufficient in terms of your using it throughout your design already. So it's enough. Okay. Worst case scenario, if you want something really fancy, then you can have one really fancy font and another one which is a very simple font. Okay, so simple font can be used for content, reports, and whatever. Okay, so if maximum, it can only go to 2 different fonts per company, per website, per brand. Okay, one brand. All right. So try to select easy to read fonts and avoid script fonts at all costs. Okay, script fonts can only be used probably for a poster design as a background, just to you know, give some flair for the design, for the style. That's all. Okay, it's not recommended to actually use script fonts for like main paragraphing content. Okay, so it's not recommended. So here are some 3 websites that provide free fonts. So the popular one for us is Google Fonts and Dafont. So Dafont has more creative fonts, more fonts for logo designs. Okay, so most of the time our designers will use Dafont. And then Google Fonts is for websites and also for content. Maybe when we're doing booklets and stuff like that, then we will go for a more simple font on Google. Okay, for other fonts that you go through on Font Squirrel, some of them you have to pay, which means that one comes with licensing. Once a font you have to pay means it comes with licensing, like Gotham have a license and also Helvetica. Okay, so please be very careful when you're downloading your font. So you want to be safe, right? You just go to Google Fonts or Dafont. Both of it is free. No worries, there's no complication. Okay, but other sites are, some of them they mix. Some is free and some is registered, and all that there is some terms to the fonts that you need to, you know, pay a certain amount of money to use it. Okay, so try not to use those. Okay, try to use the bottom ones, these 2, Google Fonts and Dafont. Okay, the too many fonts. So this is always wrong. Okay, never use many fonts because you think, wow, I want to be creative, you know, I want to make it look cool, appealing. It doesn't do that. Okay, honestly, it doesn't speak that way to your potential customers. When you do this, you're confusing your customer. When they are reading, they will stop, look, and then they pause. At how? Pause. Many fonts I'm using. Okay, so it actually breaks the sentence into bits, which is not good. You want people to read and understand the content, not read, stop, all right? So for this one, this is what you should do. You can bold and lighten the fonts, but you cannot do this. This is wrong, Okay, this one doesn't convey correctly to your potential customers. The uppercase script. So this is wrong. Never do this uppercase script for script fonts, and also never do this. So no matter what you do, script fonts is not the way to go. Okay, if you don't believe me, you can go and check really big brands, even feminine brands. They try to avoid. Okay, at all costs, especially on their logo, is so important. The logo is their brand forever. Okay, so they have to make it proper, functional. Okay, people can read. So that is why most of the time they would try to avoid script fonts. Okay, next up we will talk about proximity. Okay, so what is proximity? Okay, proximity is a connection between elements according to how close or how far they are. Okay, so this one is mostly caused, this error is mostly caused by developers, web developers or programmers. Okay, so when two elements are closely placed, they become a unit. When they are moved far apart, means they are different already. Okay, so that is why most of the time designers usually use proximity, but programmers or developers don't. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I mean. So most of the time when design is created, it's like this, but when it's generated on a website or mobile app, it becomes like this. Okay, so this is not permitted. You know why? Because actually this circle is with this content, and then this one is at the bottom. Now, when you do this circle is probably with this or stand alone, and then this one is just standing alone. Okay, so you are giving a very confusing way to the, you're confusing the reader. Okay, the way you relay what you want to tell, all the content is wrong. Okay, people get very confused. So this one is referring to this, or this one is this. Okay, you're confusing that. Now this one is different. This one is very near together. Then this circle, this image is reflecting this content. Okay. Okay, this is another one for websites especially. So this one, a lot of times developers do this. They don't feel if it causes any issue, everything still looks aligned and nice. Okay, but actually it's quite wrong. Proximity means you are clustering, okay, grouping your elements. So when people are looking at this image, they will read this content, they know it's relevant. This tree, they know, oh, it's relevant. Maybe it's a featured product. This one is on sale, 50% sale, then they know it's together. Okay, this one is another one, maybe free shipping. Okay, so when you look at this website, right, this is correct layout, which means they are grouping the elements accordingly. Okay, so everything looks proportioned, and then people understand and can relate. This one, no. Oh, so this one 50%, is it also inclusive of this 50%? People get confused already. They start to get confused. So is it all of this section here is 50%? All right, so that is the problem about proximity. This is another sample. Okay, so most time developer thinks that, hey, my alignment is already so perfect, right? It should be fine. Actually, it's not. When you do this, people understand that this is one group, this is one cluster. Okay, so it's easy for people to navigate your website. Now, when it comes to this, what will happen? Sometimes people may think this product is actually with these two buttons. Yes, of course, you are the one creating it. You say, oh, so silly, it shouldn't be. But for new potential customers, they may look at your website differently. You cannot control them. All right, you cannot justify whether they're tech savvy or not. All right, so clustering this like this for using proximity is the right way to go. Okay, it keeps it easy for people to navigate. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about colors. So colors, we have this thing called color psychology, right? Like, oh, red, it gives you a feel, of like, very happy, very bright, very cheerful. And then yellow, it's more youth and fun. Actually, all of this color psychology is very subjective. Okay, it's very subjective. So what I want to tell you is color is subjective. Okay, color, what a color means is in the eye of the beholder, not the color itself. Okay, so you may perceive green as bread. Another person may perceive green as Starbucks. All right, so means which one? So green, is it for food industry or green is for transportation? Okay, so we cannot justify that, whether green should be used for a particular industry or not. There's no such thing. Okay, so this tree is also using green, but these three are all from different industries. Okay, so Starbucks is food, TikTok is a candy, and then Spotify is an online, platform. Okay, so these three are different, but they're still using green. So it's very subjective in terms of your color choice. Next is color is relative. Okay, colors will communicate differently depending on what they are combined with. So when you think of yellow and red, what do you think? You can think of McDonald's, you can think of Shell. Okay, when you think of yellow and green, then you think of Subway. Yellow and blue, then you think of IKEA. Okay, so all of these three is still in different industries, but it works, it's relevant to their business, it works for them. All right. Okay, next is color is recollective. So your memories of a color combination is all different. When I say red and blue, you may think of Pepsi. When I say red and blue, you may think another person may think of Domino's. So it's two different things. So can you say, oh, red and blue can only be used for, food? And then actually the other person will say, no, it can only be used for canned drinks, for soda. Okay, so you cannot, it's not on that kind of scale, okay, whereby you segment the thing differently. Okay, and color is also circumstantial. Colors will communicate different depending on the target audience. This is two different target audience. All right, Nickelodeon is for kids and Hooters is for adults, for males. All right, when you go to Hooters and then girls, they dress tightly, sexy, and then they are the waitress. Okay, they will help you with your food and drinks and stuff like that. So it's totally different segment, but they're still using orange. So you cannot justify and say, okay, orange, okay, it's not for kids, because Hooters are using it, so you cannot use it. So it doesn't justify in that sense. Okay. So now, how do you choose the right colors? Knowing your target audience. All right. Knowing who are the people who are going to buy from you. Understand them first. Okay. If a lot of corporates are buying from you, then maybe a blue is the color. Make it blue, gray, very like structured, very like professional. That's what you want to relay. Okay, so it depends on your target audience. And also knowing your industry. So if you're doing a fast food outlet chain, all fast food outlets are usually red and yellow, right? So if you want to get into that market easily, then you should use the same color. So when people look at your colors, they know, okay, fast food. Even though your brand is just building up. Okay, now some people, they say, oh, I don't want to be the same. I want to be special. Yes, so you can use pink and yellow. You build it differently, pink and orange maybe. Okay, it's also okay, but you need to brand it. You need to strongly market the brand well so that people can understand the pink and orange is actually a fast food chain. All right. Next up is differentiate from competition. So sometimes people want to differentiate, sometimes they don't want. They want it to be relevant, to be the same. Okay, so it depends on the founder, how they want to perceive the brand. All right, knowing your market purpose as well, where you stand in the market. Are you a newbie, or you have really strong financial backing that can push this brand very quickly? So all of these things you need to understand. Amplify your unique personality. So what is your personality? Who are you? Who are you as a brand, or what you want to convey in terms of your brand? Okay, and also knowing the geographical data. So certain countries, they like red. Certain countries, they don't like it. Certain countries, they like green or orange or purple. Okay, so you got to understand in terms of the country that you're targeting as well. Okay, so if you want things universal, of course, you will play around with several colors. But if you want to specifically target a segment in a particular country, then you have to be very careful in terms of your color. Okay. All right, so for colors, right, we usually play within 60% to 70% of the main color. So what is main color? Main color is the dominant color of your logo. Like Grab, what's the dominant color? It's so obvious, it's green. Okay, so any materials that you see on Grab, on websites or anything is all green, but there's also some other third-party colors, okay, secondary or other colors that complement the green. Okay, but when you see green, it's majority. Okay, so here are some samples just to show you how people play with colors. Okay, it doesn't mean if your color is purple, everything is purple. No, you can still mix with other secondary colors. Okay, so color crimes to avoid. What you shouldn't do with colors. The first thing is don't use too many colors. Okay, doesn't mean, oh, today I feel like red and then I should add this and then I should add that. Look at all the big brands, their color is very structured. Okay, once they choose from the beginning green, throughout their materials are all green. They don't say shocks and dairy, today I feel like purple, let's splash everything in purple. They don't do that. Okay, even though you want to add purple, you can add it, but maybe only 30% or 40%, that's it. Okay, 60% has to still remain the brand color. All right, so the amount of colors, try to not use so many range. Okay, you can try to have a same kind of blending or tone. Okay, so it's consistent. Okay, next is vibrating colors. So using vibrating colors will affect the readability of the text. Okay, so you have to be very careful. So try to play with contrast so people can read. Okay, so this is only applicable if you're using very bright neon colors. So you have to be very careful when you're doing that. Okay. Next is contrast. Okay, no matter what you do in terms of text or maybe in Chinese calligraphy or Japanese or Arab, all this text that is readable, you need to make sure that there's strong contrast so people can read. Okay, so try not to do the first one. Okay, like dark gray and then against light gray. So it's very hard for people to read. Try to make it very strong. Okay, black and white. Okay, dark blue and white so people can read it through properly. Okay. Next is gradient. So gradient is the tone, the color tone. So most of the time we will do this as designers. Okay, very smooth. A good gradient is always very smooth, from dark to light, very smooth. This one is a bad gradient. It's a very hard gradient. You can see the color separation from the dark to the light. Okay, so this is not a good gradient. Okay, so don't commit having hard edge on the gradients. All right, so since you guys are here, I want to ask you, which is the dominant color? Anybody? For shell, what do you think?
Yellow.
Yellow.
Red color.
Red color. Okay, who else? Yellow or red is the dominant color? Yellow. Okay. Who else? Yellow.
Red.
Red. Okay. Okay.
Yellow.
Okay, so let's see the answer. So the color is yellow. Yellow is Shell's dominant color. Okay, so this is their website. So see how they play with their dominant color, yellow. Okay, but they still never forget about their red. So they put a red car here. Okay, so this is how you should play with your brand color. Always keep it consistent throughout. Do they use green for the road? Because they say, no, the trees, on the road is green. So I put green. They don't. The designers need to crop out all the greenery and then just maintain the road sign and the car. Okay, so these are the things that you should do for your brand. So when people look at this, they Shell, they remember. Okay, every time when you perceive a brand, when you look at green right now, all you think about is Grab. Last time back in the day, when we see green, we think about Maxis. Now when we see green, we think about Grab. So Grab is like a dominant, industry player already. Okay, so please remember the way you use your colors is very important. All right, next up, we talk about hierarchy. Okay, so hierarchy is very important. So hierarchy is the way you guide your audience eye. So what do you want the customers to see first? See this one first or that one first? So do you know usually when you go to a restaurant, when you flip through the menu, okay, most of the time you will order the food that has a really big illustrative photo of the dish, like chicken chop, fish and chips. They'll put it very big there. Okay, recommended, $9.90. Most of the time you will order those food. The small little ones that don't have pictures, most of the time you will just avoid. Okay, so that is hierarchy. That is how people play with. So actually the restaurant owner, if he's smart, he will ask his designer to prominently feature the chicken chop, because that is what he wants to sell off first. Because chicken cannot last long, so he wants to sell. The rest of things can still recycle and last long, so he put it on the sidelines. Okay, so hierarchy is very important because you are the ones controlling and guiding the person, Okay, so indirectly, actually, you're forcing the person to buy that thing or either click on that button. Okay, so that's what hierarchy does. Is super important. Okay, because you cannot forever follow your customers throughout everywhere, right? You cannot. Okay, most of the time you just leave the menu there and then they have to decide. So you help them decide on what to order. Okay, so this is a simple sample just to show you how it works. Now look at this one. Okay, both of it have big shoes. So the first thing you will see, your eye will coordinate and look at the Nike shoe. That is definite. You look at the shoe, you like it, green, cool. Next thing, you will see the name and then the price. And then the rest of the items are small. So that one is complementary. So what this particular website wants you to see is the brand, the shoe, of course, and then the brand or the product, the name, and then the price. And then you can make a decision from there already. Okay, but this one is badly laid out. It doesn't give a guide to your eye. You just see the shoe is very nice. Okay, then what should I do next? I don't know. Everything's the same here. Okay, what you want me to do? I also don't know. 99, is it good or not? Okay, so you're kind of like confusing the person. It's not, you're not guiding the person. You're not asking them to do something. So call to action, if you all know, call to action means you need to take action. You need to ask the person to do something. Okay, so please take note in terms of design layouts, you'll need to play with this big fonts, small fonts, and stuff like that. So hierarchy. Okay, so this is just a sample again, usage of bad hierarchy. So this one all just copy paste the text over and then just put an arrow. So this is actually bad. Okay, this is a better one where they segment the thing in image. After that, a secondary title, then a very important title. Okay, so this is hierarchy. It makes it easy for people to understand and read it. Okay, so why is it important for them to understand and read it? So that they will do something out of it. Will they buy the product? Will they click on the button? Will they order the food? You know, so all of this hierarchy thing is important because it guides the user to do something. Okay, so visual hierarchy influences the order in which our eye chooses to look, okay, at presented design elements. So where do you want the people to look first, left or right, here or there? Okay, so that is the job of a designer to do that. So this is a hierarchy in scale. You will first see this, then this. So when you enlarge something, that person will see that thing first, like the shoe is so huge, we see the shoe first. Okay, after that only we see the price and then the brand name of the shoe. Okay. Next is color. So when you use a darker color, people will see that first. People tend to see the darker color first. So the lighter one will be secondary. Okay, next is space. So how you put the thing, your spacing. Okay, so you see first, this is similar to the color as well. Okay, so you first see this, then this. Okay, next is depth. So blurry and sharp. Okay, but it's rarely used, this one. Okay, and perspective as well. So you see the right hand side, then you go to the bottom left. Okay. So checklist for hierarchy: scale, color, space, depth, and perspective. But the most important one is scale and color. These two super important. That is the most fundamental thing that you should use throughout your design work. Okay, so that too. This is just to show you what hierarchy is all about. Now, if you have this content, as you can see, you can see here the content here. This is a basic content that most people will have on your Word document when you type your report and stuff like that. Now, when you do this, right, who would bother to click on full report? Nobody. When people see this, also tak lalu lah, see the thing, ayo, okay, then they just, okay lah, whatever. Okay, now when you do hierarchy, you play with your font, weight, and your size, right? Things become different. It's just all this information, you know. But you see how the thing perceived in once you use hierarchy. Okay, the 19 degrees is so huge. Okay, currently it's small. So you see currently there's an icon and then 19 degrees, and then you look at this tree. You segment it. Okay, then after that, MTN cans and then full report. So when you're looking at this, right, what will you do? The call to action, you will click on the full report. Okay, this is how you control the person to navigate on your site. Okay, control the person. Even on a menu, also the same thing. On a brochure, also the same thing. You can control the user. Okay, using hierarchy itself. Okay, so this is just a very simple layout in terms of hierarchy, how they play with it, very simple. So you see here, there's a bold title, small subtitle, the content, and then their founder. This is hierarchy. But if you don't do that, right, you just copy paste everything, then people tend not to read. They don't know whether that one is under the title or the paragraph or things like that. Okay, so this is a very simple, clean way for website. This is another one. Okay, so most of the time on Word documents, we don't get icons, we just get bullet points. So do you put your bullet points into your website or not, or on your brochure? We don't. Okay, when it comes to design, we need to add a little bit of elements like icons, some pictures or things like that to make it more interesting. And we can also box up and have a full solid color to show some contrast to the content. So after people reading this, they will come here, or maybe they read this first, then you read this. Okay, so all of these plays with hierarchy. Okay, next up we'll talk about space. So white space is also called negative space. Okay, so it's a very important and very powerful element to be used. All right, so please remember to try to space out your things so that it looks clean. Now just think of a room. Now you have this room in your condo or house. You stuff it with a lot of boxes, and then you have a lot of chairs, tables. When people come into the room, how do they feel? They feel very uncomfortable, congested. They feel, oh, why so many things here? Okay, let me get out first. Okay, so space for design is also the same thing, because people want to be comfortable reading your content, comfortable understanding your product or service. So please have space so there's very sharp clarity of your product or service, just like Apple. Okay, later I will show you. All right, so this is a good thing. When you're using space, this is a bad thing. Okay, you are a little bit confusing the audience already. So what do you want them to see? Okay, this is the correct way. Okay, creates breathing space. You can breathe when you go inside. Oh, comfortable. Then you tend to have a zen feeling. Then you can read through the content easily. Now this one is too cluttered, right? Too many things. There's very minimal space. Everything is so huge. Okay, so this is not recommended. Okay, it improves legibility, which means you can read it better. when this happens, you can read it better. It's more convenient. Okay, this one is like, wow, so cramped, so many things. Hold on, let me read through. Okay, so this one you cause a little bit of discomfort. Okay, now this is the one I want to show you. Gives focus and emphasis. Go to an Apple site. Apple site is the one that uses all the design principles. You can go and see. They use contrast, they use alignment, they use space, they use proximity, everything. You can just go through Apple. That's why they're charging 5,000 to 6,000 for a phone, because they apply all the design principles, they build their brand to give value to it. That's why they can market it at such a high price. Okay, so this is important. Try to have space. Okay, don't clutter everything into one. Okay, so let your design breathe. Always remember. Okay, so now how do you make your design breathe? Okay, more padding and margin, space, space, space all around. Okay, another one is use open images. This one is only mostly for designers lah. Okay, so designers, we have the tools to actually crop out the image to make this way. Okay, so if you have design skills, then it's good. Try to use open images like this. This one, when you box it up, is too cramped most of the time. And this one can be done by anybody. Okay, so anybody can do this. Okay, so it's not something special. Okay, if you want something special and clean, then you should go for this, open images. Try to use a few words. Okay, don't be so long-winded. You want to tell everything at one time. At one point. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so a lot of founders, they like to tell a lot of things about a product because they're so proud of it. Everything to them is important. Okay, it's not true. You need to understand your target market. What do they need to know first? Okay, other than that, you can put all the other things at the bottom. But what do they want to know first? So that one has to be, you have to streamline it and minimize the text. Okay, so when there's minimal words, right, it's easy for people to understand, relate, and read it through. When there's too many text, people tend to, oh my God, so many things to read. And then you have to go and read the other website as well. You have to compare 5 other websites. And then you come to your website, oh my God, so many things to read. So people don't like it. So usually we cluster it into groups, right? Easy for people to navigate and read and understand. Okay, so a few words. And then add space between elements. So this is correct and this is wrong. Okay, so you should add space here throughout. All right, so it's easy for people to read through the elements. This one is very hard. After tip, like the tip is already touching here, and then after this have to, oh, it doesn't, it's very uncomfortable. Okay, so here I can understand it's a subtitle here, and then this one is the whole cluster, and then this one is from the author. Okay. So how do you do all of these? You have to start with too much space first. So try to be minimalist first, and then try to add things, not the other way around. So a lot of people do the mistake by putting a lot of things, then only they remove, cannot. Okay, you need to minimize first, then you try to add 1 or 2 things back in. Okay, so that's how you design using space. Okay, so just as humans need air to breathe, your design needs white space to breathe, or negative space. Okay, so very important. So I just want to show you a sample. This is a poster that doesn't use negative space or space at all. So typically, right, customers, when they ask the designer to do something, they would usually like to fill up the whole paper. So they feel it's worth it. So example, if I pay 1,000 ringgit for a poster, I expect you to fill up everything on the poster. Okay, so it doesn't work that way. Whether you fill it up, then well, it's very cost effective because everything is there. Actually, it's not true. Okay, if you want a successful approach towards the poster to your event, then you should have negative space or white space. Okay, then people can navigate well. Now on this poster, the first few words I see is BAM, ZAP, and POW. I don't know about you, but that's what I see first. Okay, then after that, I'll read through this, which is like so many things going on. And then only all of these things. So it's very confusing. I don't know where to navigate first. Okay, so that is the problem about not using white space. All right, now look at this one. This one is a little bit different. Maybe you think it's too simple, too clean, but it actually works for the target audience. It relays the correct message. Okay, now first thing, there is a Superman icon logo behind. Okay, the first thing when you see Superman's logo, right, the emblem thing, the first thing you know is superhero. So you read, oh, superhero clinic, cool. Next thing you read is, oh, free entry, cool. Then next thing you read is, oh, where is it? Then next is the activities that's related to this event. And then who is the organizer, and then a telephone number to contact. So you see, you're guiding the user correctly with negative space, with your hierarchy and everything. That is a very good poster. It relates very well, which means when I look at this, I know what to do. Okay, when I look at the other one, I don't know what to do. Okay, it's very confusing. Everything is jam-packed there. Okay, so which one do you prefer? Okay, so obviously this one works better for your target audience. They understand, they can relate, and it even looks very a little bit atas lah, I would say. Okay, an event that's very professional. This one look like a home base, like, you know, mother groups together, and then they just create this event. You don't feel it's professional. This one you can feel it's more professional. All right, you can see the difference between this and this. This is like a home base kind of picnic. This one is not. This one looks more professional. Okay, so when you do posters like this, you don't even need to put free entry anymore. You can charge them already. Okay, because it looks so sophisticated, like so posh, like you know, there's a quality, there's a professional level there. So you can actually add some fees to it because of this brand, how you brand it. Okay. So as simple as it is, sometimes the simple design wins. Okay, wins not in because you like it as a founder, wins because it projects well to your target audience. That is what winning means. Okay, it means when a person look at the poster, they will come to your event. That's the most important part. Okay. So next we'll talk about contrast. Okay, so contrast creates focus. Okay, so have you ever been looking for a friend in a crowded place? Yeah, and you cannot find them. Okay, now what happens if that friend is wearing pink? Okay, isn't it much easier? So that is contrast. Okay, so contrast can be in terms of size, color, you know, or space. So look at this. When it's very big, you can see. When it's a different color, you can see. Okay, so contrast is very important when you are doing your artwork. All right, so please be careful. Try not to put everything as important. Okay, as a founder, right, most of the time, everything to us is important. Oh, yes, you want to tell the customer this. Yes, also you want to tell this, want to tell this. No, you got to figure out what is the most important one that actually can make your customers buy. What is more important? Okay, so which one you want to grab attention first? You cannot put everything the same. If you do this, right, nobody will know what to do first. You're confusing your potential customers. All right, so how do you add non-contrasting text to images? Okay, so you can do this. So usually you will have an image and you will have a text. Now, how do you combine these two? So most of the time when we combine these two, right, it's not readable. It's white against green, which we can't even read. Okay, it's fading off already behind the background. Okay, so the first thing you can do is to use solid color to enhance it. So you can put a solid color behind your text, okay, to enhance, to give some contrast so that people can read the content. Okay. Next up, you can use opacity. Opacity meaning you lighten the box, you transparency. Okay, give some transparency to the box. So it's like more zen a little bit, so it doesn't feel so hard. Okay, you can do this. Another one, you can also darken the background, darken the person, the background. Okay, you can add a tint on top. Okay, maybe a black tint. Okay, so the text is readable. If you don't want, you can play with gradient, which means the tint, the black tint is only behind the text. This side is there's no tint. Okay, so this one is mostly for designers where we'll use the airbrush to brush it off. So only this part here on the left is the one with the tint, okay, to showcase the text. All right, so this is how we play with contrast in terms of your text and your image. Okay, this is just some samples of design works with contrast, strong contrast. Okay, this one as well for website. Very strong contrast. This one also. So what is the contrast? It's very solid red image and then behind is white. Solid image and then bottom is text. Solid image at the bottom and then is text. Okay, it's not text, text, text and then all images. No, image, text, image, text. So that's contrast. All right. Okay, next we talk about repetition. Okay, so repetition helps create a consistency flow throughout your designs. So if you're using hexagons, right, try to maintain that hexagon throughout all your materials. Like Nando's, right, they have the little petal thing, the script font or something. They will use it all consistently throughout their social media posters. When you go and have a look at Nando's on social media, Facebook. Okay, so try to keep the elements consistent throughout anything. Okay, so people can recognize your brand. Like posters, if you have this lines thingy, right, this poster will have this line, the next poster also the same thing, also will have some lines. So it keeps the same, okay? People can relate to your brand easily. Website also the same. If you want to lay out the cluster, make sure it's all the same as well. Okay, repetition, okay? Okay, next up is balance. So balance is very important, symmetrical, asymmetrical. You all have to know which one you want, you decide, okay? So create balance, okay, is very important so that people can look and view your image, product, or poster easily, they can understand and relate better. Okay, so this is a proper balance. As you can see, everything is in the center. The two buttons are all balanced. Okay, find your balance and decide. Like this one, all the text is on the top left, the image is on the bottom right. So that's the balance for this poster. This one is a little bit more sophisticated in terms of balance. Okay, but you can see here, the main circle is actually in the center of the page. It's just these two is a little bit off-grid lah, but still you can see all of this. And you see here, also very nice one, the balance. The text all line left, a line right, all in the center of that line. Okay, there's still a balance, even though there's an off balance here. Okay, this one also the same. As you can see, there's like asymmetrical across. Okay, even though it's off balance, but it's still balanced. Okay. All right, next is icons. So usually icons we will use for our websites or mobile apps or anything, even on brochures or infographics or either booklets, also the same thing. So we don't just put bullet points for our content. So most of the time on Word document, your reports all bullet points are very boring. So most of the time you will cluster it with icons. So always choose one icon style throughout your brand. Okay, decide from the early stage. You want to use outline, field, or multicolor. So the popular one is actually outline. Okay, so here are some icons that are being used for big brands in Malaysia. So Malaysia Airlines uses outline fonts, very simple and clean. AirAsia uses field solid. Okay, can see here all field and solid. Grab uses multicolor. They want to be more creative, so they use multicolor, a lot of colors, but still keep the green there. Okay. Okay, so here are some resources. If you guys want to get free icons, you can go to Flaticon or Icon Finder. It's all free. Okay, manytools.org here is to actually help you to once you download the icons, you can change the color according to your brand color. Okay, if you decide to change the color of the icon, okay, you can download it first, then come to this site to actually change the color. Okay, but obviously designers, they don't use this. They will use Photoshop or Illustrator to update. Okay, but if you want free tools, this is the place to go. Flaticon is very popular among designers as well. So most of the icons are free, no need to pay. So we just download, we change the color, we edit a bit, and then we will use it. Okay. Next is images. So for every material, right, your poster, your social media, whatever, you still need to use photos or images. You have to decide. So usually we try to decide only one style throughout, usually, if you can. You see for Grab, they use two. One is vector graphics and one is human, these two only. But a lot of vector graphics Grab uses. Okay, so that is their style. So you need to decide which one you want to use. Okay, so there's abstract, there's blur background, there's object, there's people, and vector. So the most popular one is actually people. Okay, people is the most popular among a lot of corporates or companies. Okay, these are just two sites that y'all can go to get free stock photos. It's free, no need to pay. So if you all need photos, you can come here. But of course, there's other places as well, like FreePic, Unsplash, a lot more. Okay, you can go online to get photos. And please don't get photos from Google Images, it's copyright. Okay, you want to use this, it's okay, but not Google Images. So this is just a website just to show you abstract. Okay, abstract pattern, you see this one, abstract. Okay, abstract is all about patterns. So the whole website, the whole brand presence, all pattern throughout. Okay, next is blur background. Okay, so this one is blur background. They use it for their website. This one is people. Okay, Avana uses people. So people is the most popular one because people can associate with people. You can associate with them. Okay, so it's like a more emotion. It's more emotion. Okay, but people, when you're choosing people, you have to be very sensitive towards the target audience. Skin color, where are they from? Okay, which country are they from? Which one they're representing? The clothes they wear. Okay, how old are they? Okay, are they very good looking, very pretty? Is it relevant to your target audience? Okay, are they old? Are they young? All of these things you need to consider before you use human. Okay, so most of the time designers, what do? They don't show the face of the people. Usually we crop from the neck onwards. So the neck and the head we just crop off. We just use the hand gestures. So we just show the hand, so it doesn't represent anything. It doesn't represent the gender. It doesn't represent the skin color. I mean, whether who they are, whether they're young, they're old. So all just hand gestures. So it's better sometimes. Okay, so it depends on your company, your brand presence, how you want to relate your brand. Okay, so do take note when you're using people. Okay. Okay, next is a vector graphics. So this company uses vector. As you can see, there's no human touch there. Everything is just graphic. Okay, so designers like to do this, even though customers don't like it, but designers like. Okay, so it's a little bit more creative. Okay, this is a more object oriented. So Apple uses object. Everything is about the phone, the laptop, all the devices they will feature, they will close up to let you see. Okay, so they are more on the object oriented kind of approach. Okay. Okay, so how to spice up your imagery? Okay, so you can do things like that. Okay, don't just make it in a square. You can overflow your subject. Okay, you can use monochromic. Okay, you can put different backgrounds behind the girl. Okay, you can make it black and white, grainy to change the style. Okay, you can also add a little bit of illustrations inside. Okay, all right, so we are ending our talk already. So why your business needs graphic design? So graphic design is actually an investment. It's not a waste of money because it helps in terms of your business growth, in terms of your brand presence. So it's very important to try to apply design into your product or service. Okay, so the first impression always matters. Okay, don't have a lousy logo or a lousy artwork and then send to the customer. Then they will perceive your brand badly. Okay, so choose the right way of building your brand from the start. Okay, it also helps in terms of marketing. Okay, remember that flyer that you took from the PC fair that you threw it in the rubbish bin, you didn't even care, that is bad lah. Okay, basically the design is not there, you just simply put the price points and then just give it to you. Okay, so will you want somebody to keep the flyer or not? Okay, so if you want somebody to keep the flyer, you need to apply some brand design, some design into your marketing materials. Okay, sales actually allows you to get more sales when you do a better branding, brand presence. Okay, when people look at design, wow, very cool, very nice, then you can upsell, like you can increase your price, your value. Okay, you can increase the value. Once you apply design, you can increase the value. Next is appeal. Branded business will always be perceived as better, always like that. Even though the product is a crappy one, but because the packaging and everything looks so good, and then how they brand it and market it, then you say, okay, cool, it's good. Okay, so that is how people perceive it. Okay, so remember the difference between pulp and custard. Okay, so the packaging is different. Once you see the packaging that is just in plastic and one in a box, usually we will get the one in the box. You'll pay higher for the one in the box. Okay, all right. Okay, so recognition. So customers can easily recognize and recall your brand, your business, if you do packaging, if you have a brand presence, if you have design. Okay, so it's very important. If you want people to recognize. Now, if you do this, especially selling things on Shopee, you do this, people will not remember your brand. Okay, if you do this, then people will keep the box and reuse it. Okay, the brand will be consistent throughout. Okay, it will help you market it as well. Okay. All right, so devil is in the details. So the best and fastest way to learn design is to watch and imitate what designers do. Okay, so you guys can go to Behance or all of these websites to get some inspiration, get some ideas when you're creating your designs. Even though if you're not personally designing it, you can hire a designer and at least you can know what direction you want to go for. Okay, all right, so my session has ended. Okay, if you have any questions, you can reach me here on my email. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Jasmine. Maybe we can take a few questions before we end today's session. Any questions from the floor?
Great sharing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nas.
Okay, if there are no more questions, if there are no questions, then that's the end of today's session. Now, if you love the webinar, that was just one of the many sessions that we have lined up for you, and they are all free. So for the next program, we have on the 14th of August, this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have a workshop, a 3-hour workshop called Content Creation 101, and that teaches you on the principles and strategy on creating content for your social media that resonates the most with your audience. So I'll paste the link in the chat box.
All right.
Yes, and also we'd love to hear your feedback and know what you think of the session today. So I'll be launching a poll, and it should pop on your screen right about now. And that's it for today. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. So
All right,
thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for joining in
Bye.
today. Stay safe.
Bye.
Have a good rest.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thanks. Bye.